Hey guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about this worm drive that I used as a fourth axis unit, or attempted to use as a fourth axis unit. I saw these kind of things selling on eBay, and I saw many sellers promoting the product as I guess, a fourth axis unit that could be suitable as a fourth axis unit. And normally they would have a stepper motor or something like that over here, located off the end of the off of the end of the input here. And so I was in the mood for a lighter weight fourth axis than the unit that I had built. The unit I had built is it's okay, it's nice, but it weighs about 100 pounds, and my table space is kind of at a premium. So if I'm not using it, I like to remove it from the table and put it on a shelf, and it gets to be a little cumbersome. Every time I want to use it, I have to hoist it up off the shelf and then carry it over to the mill table. So I was looking for something small and lightweight and used for mainly light machining work. That was the intent. So I looked at these, and I saw some reviews where people were saying that the backlash was either, like non-existent or near non-existent, and that sounded good to me. And the way I had it figured is, if I did this as a fourth axis unit, if I got, like 100 hours use out of it, then all the better, and I could just pop the thing out and toss it and then buy another unit and go at it again. I guess I figured I just didn't really have much to lose. So this is basically the unit I got. I think mine was a 15-to-1 ratio. I think it was something like that. And here's a piece of 4140 that I started with. And what I was basically doing is making a chuck adapter. And that chuck adapter needed to be made so I could, well, for one, put a chuck on it, but I also, secondly, is support some bearings. Because as you see right here on the shaft, it's very skinny. And it really isn't designed to take those kind of machining loads. So what I was going to do is make a machined case on the front and use these bolt pattern. Use this bolt pattern here for a basically this bearing mount, and then it will hold a couple of ball bearings in there, and then this chuck adapter I would make would utilize the support of the bearings and then hold on to the chuck to have a rigid front setup. Here's kind of what it looked like here, and going out a little further, there it is right there. So the shaft of the motor, or the shaft of the worm drive, would fit right in here, and then these holes here were going to be for the chuck, and then this OD here is going to be for the ID of the bearings. There, I think I was trying to use the lathe to broach a blind hole. Okay, here it is with the bearings, and a very, very shallow key. Didn't really work all that great on a South Bend lathe. Okay, so there's my little worm drive, and my I think it's a 3-inch chuck or 3.5-inch chuck, something like that, and with those ball bearings. Here's the little bearing mount. That's what it looked like bolted on. I'm getting ready to press this whole thing right into there, and it actually pressed very nicely. I got the fits just right. Ended up looking like this. That's a picture of the little bearing mount there. So this is what I come up with in the end, and I was so close to having it done. And then I put it on my vise, and then I grabbed a hold of the chuck and gave it a little torque, a little bit of a radial torque with my hand, and I felt play in there. And it wasn't like a tiny bit of play. You could just just barely feel. It was noticeable play. And then I knew at that point the gig was up. It would not be usable or suitable for machining unless I was, machining really soft stuff or, anything like that. It would have to be very weak, very easy to machine, very little cut pressures. Or the only other option would be to install a brake and then get reduced down to indexed positioning only, which wasn't really something I was interested in. So I went through all of that work, and that's what I came up with in the end. If it wasn't for the play, this probably would have made a nice little unit, but well, with the play on there, it just wasn't going to be doable. So that was the end of that project. I ended up going a different route, and I'll be making some video about that in the near future.